But it was amazing to have him out there. I mean, I just missed his presence around the locker room, his energy, his vibe around the team. And then on top, I mean, then his game is just so beautiful. You know, makes the game so much easier for everybody out there. And it was amazing to see him out on the floor again. The crowd showed him so much love. Teammates, you know, just the game of basketball is happy to have him back.
Man, I'm just taking it one day at a time. You know, like I said, earlier in the season, it's not an ideal situation, and I'm always praying that things get figured out and we're able to come to some collective agreement, whether it be with the league or just things that's going on that could help kind of ease what we're all dealing with, you know, with COVID and the vaccine. I think everybody's feeling it, so I don't want to make it simply about me and simply about someone lessening the rules for me. I know what the consequences were. I still know what they are. But right now, I'm just going to take it one day at a time, like I said, and just enjoy this time that I get to play with my guys. And, however it looks later in the season, and we'll address it then.
So there's still a possibility.
Huh?
There's still a possibility.
Oh, come on, man. Don't hang on to me.
You know, it feels like it's been as long that we've talked to Vincent Goodwill from Yahoo Sports as it was since we saw Kyrie Irving play basketball. Like, it feels like forever since we have seen you, Vinny. Like, it's so good to see you, brother. It's been a long time. Happy New Year. I don't know what your cutoff is, but Happy New Year. But we're weekend.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy holiday.
Yes.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy holidays.
I mean,
yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Man,
have we seen you since Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving.
It feels like forever. Feels like forever.
What's going on? What's going on in the fifth floor, man? You ain't been around.
I can't believe y'all comparing me to Kyrie Irving. Like, what a way to
I just mean length of time. I know.
I chose not to come to work. You know what I mean?
Oh, fair enough. Well, I guess that dovetails right into the question. A two-part question, and you take it where you want to go. One, deep down, weren't you happy to see him back on the court the other night? But two, we know Giannis is probable for tonight's game in Brooklyn, but we know that Kyrie will not be participating because we know his situation. He will not be a part of the latest Bucks-Nets meeting tonight at the Barclays Center. Tomorrow night, I beg your pardon. Is it tonight or tomorrow night?
It's tonight.
I thought it was tonight. It's tonight. Yes. Today's Friday, right? It's tonight.
Yes, it is.
He will not be a part of
that snow day.
He would not be.
That snow day.
He will not be a part of the game tonight. So, A, aren't you happy to see him back deep down? B, can this arrangement work in the long term?
I think as a fan of basketball, you're always encouraged to see someone return back to being the artist that they are, right? Like Kyrie Irving as a singular basketball player is one of the best one-on-one guys we've ever seen. Now, we don't know how that works in a team construct. We don't know how that works as far as with this Brooklyn Nets team. You know, he's probably missed more games than he's played, but collected every single dollar that he's been owed. But I don't know if it should be celebrated. Like, let's be perfectly honest. I don't think it's not like there's some stand that's been taken or been removed. This is a marriage of convenience to this point. If Kevin Durant were not playing 40 minutes a night last month and James Harden was looking like a shell of himself, there wouldn't be the discussion about allowing Kyrie Irving back to play because the Nets wouldn't feel like they needed him. So I don't know if it necessarily should be celebrated, but maybe from an entertainment value standpoint, sure. And you asked me, could this work? I told y'all this can't work. Remember, here's the thing. I'm not Michael Holley. I'm not changing my mind. When I say something, I stick to it. I said once this whole thing happened, you can X the Brooklyn Nets out of the championship conversation because I did not believe that James Harden and Kevin Durant were enough. Now, if you would have said that James Harden was an MVP version of himself, maybe so, but he looks like a guy that is a 85 to 90% version of himself, not the MVP type of ball player that he is. So no, I don't think it can work. I've never seen it work. We don't have precedence for dysfunction in this way of basically excuse truancy working. Yeah, it can work in January because it's January. Talk to me in June.
Michael, I know you want to clap back, but let me follow up real quick. Okay.
No,
You don't think
I don't necessarily want to clap back. I don't want to clap back. I just want to say I don't think Vinny should be bragging about his inflexibility. That's all. I mean, that's
Vinny, you're right. But this is what and maybe I'm being a naive optimist, which I tend to be. I believe that Kyrie comes around. He put it off on everybody else. Like, hey, hopefully they figure something out because I ain't getting the shot. So hopefully this mandate gets lifted that we're all sick of, right? I find it hard to believe that as stubborn as Kyrie is, and maybe I'm underselling or underestimating just how stubborn and dug in he is, that when the stakes get higher, you're right. Hey, just talk to you in June. When we get there, the stakes get higher. Is Kyrie really going to sit out home games when the championship's on the line? I think he ends up getting a shot. Or am I tripping?
You're assuming that the Brooklyn Nets get out of the second round without Kyrie Irving, that it goes that far. Like, who says?
Well, even before that, I'm not saying it comes out to the finals and he gets the shot.
Even
I'm
before the
playoff time.
the postseason.
Yeah, like playoff time when he really gets time.
How about next week?
Yeah, I just can't see him saying, you know what, good luck. I'll see y'all on the road, and when it's the playoffs,
Have y'all been watching the same Kyrie Irving that I've been watching for his entire professional life? Or is this some new dude that has just emerged? Like, I don't know. And maybe I'm tripping here. Maybe as the young person here, I'm tripping. But the Kyrie Irving
You're
that I
not that
listen
young. Like Wedding Crashers. We're not that young. I mean, like, let's not overstate this, Vinny. Okay.
I am still
You over
in my
30.
30s.
Right, you over 30.
But I'm still
You're
in
closer
my
to 40.
30s. But
But you're closer to 40 than you are to 30.
Hey, lower your tone.
Yeah.
Lower your tone. Watch your tone.
Okay.
No, but I don't see Kyrie Irving having all of a sudden, like, Kyrie Irving's pride and everything that he holds dear to me means much more from where I sit. That means much more to him, his principle, contrarian without a cause, whatever his mental cause is or whatever he convinces himself that his cause is. I don't see him doing this for Kevin Durant. I don't see him doing this for the entire operation that he brought together. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know what you guys see. Like, the process of him maybe taking the vaccine and then being cleared and everything else, it sounds like he wants to put the onus on the NBA, which is saying, you know what, hey, if you're asymptomatic, you can play. And I can see that happening for the NBA down the line, especially as you head towards the playoffs and the 6-month cycle that we'll be in starts to wear off, where players will become maybe a little more susceptible to catching it, even if they are vaxxed and boosted. I can see the league saying, you know what, if you're vaxxed and you're boosted, then you know what, as long as you're not showing symptoms, you can play. And I can see Kyrie Irving wanting that to be bent a little bit more to, hey, I caught it and I'm still fine as long as I'm tested every day. That's what I think Kyrie Irving is.
But that ain't happening. That doesn't matter to New York. But that doesn't matter to New York, though. That's an NBA thing. New York ain't been in, they'll Novak Djokovic him. They're not going to say, okay, well, you can play in games and everybody else can't go in the buildings. The mandate in New York is the issue.
We're assuming logic. Why are you applying logic to Kyrie Irving? Why are you applying logic and facts and law and mandates to Kyrie Irving?
I'm saying even if Kyrie Irving wants the NBA to adjust its policies for him, New York is not going to adjust its policies for him.
Right.
I'm not looking at Kyrie's logic.
I agree with you. I'm telling you what I think that he's going to think. He can think all of those things and think that he doesn't have to get vaccinated. He can say that, you know what, people have gotten vaccinated and boosted and still have caught it and everything else. So maybe we should lift these things. I think that's what he's referring to as opposed to
people can evolve. Even Kyrie Irving, man. Like, I think circumstances, I know we got to move on, but circumstances, it could evolve. And Michael, you said this. Like, I'm not alone. Michael is taking him at his word, saying it's a process. Vinny, I'll tell you this. You're right about his pride. You're right about, he can save face. Because come playoff time, if Kyrie Irving says, I gathered more facts, as if any more facts have presented themselves, I gathered more facts, I came around, and my process led me to getting the shot, it's not like he said, I'll never get the shot. He said, I'm not anti-vax. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, even though his behavior contradicts that.
Right.
He can still get the shot, and nobody's going to say, oh, man, you a sellout. Oh, you cave into the man. Like, nah, he got a job to do, and that job requires him to get the shot. So it's not that I'm appealing to his logic. I'm just wondering if it's loyalty to his teammates will supersede his principle. Maybe, maybe not. You might be 100% right, and a leopard can't change his spots or stripes or whatever it is that they have. So you might be right.
Yeah.
You might be right.
The best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. We can move on.
That's a great way to tag that. It wasn't but a couple of days ago we saw a report out of New York, or I think it might have been Bleacher Report, I don't remember where it was, that the Knicks might be aggressive at the trade deadline. They just signed Julius Randle to an extension, but he didn't exactly endear himself, to Knicks fans last night. Michael and I already talked about it. We weighed in on like, look, it's New York. What do you expect? Would you want it any other way? Your take on Julius Randle's reaction to the fans booing him, giving them thumbs down, telling them to shut the F up, / do they need to figure out, you see how hard that is for me not to just slip up and do that, right, Mike?
Yeah, I was going to say. Because you never,
to go real slow.
These are the first time, this show is probably the first time in your life that you've said shut the F up, because you just said it real quick.
I can remember. First time that I can remember.
Because you used to, I don't know if you remember, you used to just say this phrase, you used to say, shut what they call, and then you finish it off.
Yes.
Okay.
And could Julius Randle potentially be somebody that the Knicks move as they try to, get over this hump, get past 500?
Nah, I don't think so. In part because I think that Tom Thibodeau has a lot of sway in that organization, and I think that he never is a guy who abandons his best player. You know what I mean? Think about all the stuff that was going on with Jimmy Butler in Minnesota a couple years back, and he had Karl Towns and Andrew Wiggins there, and Jimmy was doing all the stuff that he was doing, and Tip still wanted to make that relationship work. And Julius Randle was nowhere near that type of distraction. I think as far as the fans booing thing, look, the fans are, especially in New York, especially at Madison Square Garden, where there's an enormous level of expectation, especially this year, especially of how thirsty they were last year and how disappointing that playoff series was against Atlanta. There was expectations coming in. And Julius Randle, for the most part of this year, has looked like the Julius Randle under David Fizdale, a guy who was doing a little too much dribbling, a little too much out of control basketball playing, who didn't necessarily sort of stay inside the box, and they are a little frustrated with it. And I don't think that last night was the first time that Knicks fans have been frustrated with him. I think a lot of times when fans boo players, especially at home, you guys know this, it's an accumulative effect. It's almost like it's almost like leaving your spouse. It's like, you know what? The first night you don't cook, that's okay. The first month you don't cook, look, man, we gonna have to do something about this. Yeah. And you get the blow up.
I've been biting my tongue.
Why don't you cook? Why don't you cook?
Look, I've never lived with a woman. I don't know exactly how these conversations work, but I do know the relationship between fans and what they perceive to be underwhelming players. And I think to some degree, whether it's been, I want to say the coddling of athletes, but I think in terms of being more empathetic towards athletes, especially in the past few years as we've embraced the mental health conversation, and we've had to rightfully watch our language about how we talk about athletes and not refer to them as like cattle or nameless and faceless without emotions. I do think there's been an expectation of the pendulum swinging on the other side of they don't have to be accountable if fans are kind of upset with them. Now, if you're playing hard and you're just not making shots, that's one thing. But if you're making bad decisions, the paying customer has the right to boo. I don't know about y'all, but I've left some bad movies by some good actors that I've seen. I didn't boo because they couldn't hear it. But if I could boo, I would have booed.
At a concert, you would. But wait, I gotta do this against my better judgment, because we got so many NBA topics we're gonna talk about. Michael, please indulge me. How old are you, Vinny?
He won't tell you. He playing that game.
I am older than 35.
Come on. Okay.
Okay, you're 30-something. Fine. Okay, whatever. You ain't never shacked up? Like, ever? Like, that was pretty revealing. You just slid that in there. Like, wow. It's interesting. I mean, no, you never got to a point, really. That's wow.
I'm a middle child, for one, so I like my space. And during those periods where maybe something could have happened, I was not being, I wasn't being right.
Okay, good to just curious.
I was like,
somebody left their toothbrush. Somebody left their toothbrush at your crib. Okay, you ain't gonna tell me that now. Or maybe you were like me, because I didn't want to live in sin, right? You know what I'm saying? But I had an apartment that I was paying rent to, but I was, for all intents and purposes, living with my future missus. So I can have it both ways.
Benny, as your attorney, I'll
say this. I'll say this, and I will leave this to your own devices. There was an incident where shampoo was replaced with Nair, and I was like, you know what? This ain't for me.
Okay. All right. Save us, Mike. Go ahead and save us. Move on. Move to the other topic.
All right.
Move to the other topic. Move to the other topic. Save us from ourselves.
Next topic. I was going to ask you, since we're talking about Julius Randle, and this is not my main point, I just want to point this out, Michael Smith, that Julius Randle used to play in New Orleans. You know who his teammates were in New Orleans? Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis. So when people say Anthony Davis never really had teammates, he had Julius Randle giving you 20 points a game and Drew Holiday. So let's just stop with that. Anyway, the reason I'm asking you about this, though, Vinny, it's because New Orleans, I'm looking at the situation, Zion and his rehab, and you see that there's that story. He hasn't played yet this year, yet the guy drafted right behind him has become a superstar. Did you ever have a thought, did anybody you talked to ever seriously say, you know what, New Orleans should draft Ja Morant over Zion Williamson? Or is that just retroactively, we're making this thing make sense because Zion Williamson is dealing with all these injuries?
No. There's always going to be a couple of evaluators who have no skin in the game, who have picks like 25 to 30, that are willing to say, you know what, if I had the first pick and I was in their shoes, I would have done that. And then you tell them that they're full of it because you know that they wouldn't. Even if their logic is sound and it turns out to be as such, you know, the politics dictated that Zion Williamson was going to be the number one pick. I almost compare it to Detroit taking Cade Cunningham this year, even though Evan Mobley could very well turn out to be Tim Duncan. You can fail with the consensus and not lose your job. If you fail by taking a risk or trying to get cute, you're going to get fired. And there's no player on any level, especially one that's 6'2", 6'3", that you would take above a guy who's 6'7", who could be Charles Barkley, who could be some combination of that. I don't think that even in hindsight, anybody would be too confident in it. Now, if you would have said that that Ja Morant would have been like, you know, if Russell Westbrook played a little bit more under control and had a better jump shot and was be extremely durable and everything else, yeah, maybe that's something that you consider. But I'll tell you this, guys, the clock is ticking on Zion Williamson, not just playing the game this year, but playing the game in New Orleans, period.
They got to pay him in offseason, right?
He's up for his restricted free agency year. So if they don't pay him before October, he's going to go into restricted free agency, and that's just going to be ugly in itself. Like, why would you not, in theory, on its face, pay a guy who averages 26 and 7 and shoots 60% true shooting percentage, and I put him on my all-third team last year? Like, I'm not saying that Zion Williamson isn't worth it, but I am saying when you add up everything and you create this picture, you can understand why the New Orleans, this New Orleans franchise that is not in an abundance of cash, that they have to have some questions about the future of that organization with Zion. The other question is David Griffin going to be around? Are you going to have front office changes after this year? And if someone new comes in, I don't know if they're going to try to piss off Zion Williamson by not giving him his money and saying you're going to have to prove it, because sometimes when you ask a player to prove it, he takes his jersey off and runs through MetLife Stadium.
No, I love that question, Michael. Because I'll ask you this. From what we're talking about him, so it's not out of sight, out of mind. But while he's hurt and rehabbing, Ja Morant is ascending into superstardom, having taken a team to the playoffs last year. So it's somewhat unfair. But having said that, we have seen glimpses, stretches of pure brilliance from Zion Williamson. So I'll ask you this, I'll ask both of y'all this. Healthy Zion at his best, at least that we've seen, versus Ja Morant, what we're seeing. Which would you rather?
Okay, I'll say it to this point. Last year, I put Zion on my third team, 26-7 in a losing situation. And I caught a little bit of wreck for that because people said, how can you put him on that? He didn't play enough games. His team didn't win enough games, the blah, 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 blah. This year, you got to consider putting Ja Morant on your first or second team as far as, guards. So I won't say it's not that much difference, but I will say usually big wins. Like if all things are created equal, big wins. But Ja has such a profound effect on winning to where he fits right in with that Memphis team and he doesn't have to take up all the oxygen and that team can be tough and gritty and he fits right in. We don't know what Zion looks like in a winning situation, what that looks like around him, who he's playing with. Like you can look at the numbers and everything else and project and you'll probably be right. But with Ja, we know that he can play big time winning playoff style basketball because Memphis plays 82 playoff games. They just play it in the regular season. So with their style of play, so it's not like you have to worry about them and that style of play translating to the playoffs. You can see it doing that now. With Zion, there's just too many questions, even with his performance being as such. You just don't know how much it translates to big time winning.
You know what, Mike? It's a great question. And I got to tell you, Zion has already proven me wrong because my bias, I have a bias against like listed at 6'6", 6'7" power players who are really like 6'4", 6'5". And I generally think they don't translate to the pros. Now, Vinny mentioned Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was great.
That's not Zion, though. Zion's not short. He's not short. Generously listed,
But like
he's 6'6". He's about 6'6".
Yeah.
He's about 6'6".
And big. So even before I knew about the injuries, I'd say, is that sustainable? Now, I didn't think he'd come in and dominate like he did. So now I know he can play. My question is he a 10 to 12-year player playing the way he does?
The longevity.
With the girth that he has, whereas Ja Morant is. So if I had to look at it now, I got the benefit of hindsight and all that stuff. I go with Ja. I give him the edge over Zion.
Yeah. Well, I think we all unanimous and just hoping that Zion gets back on the court. Hopefully it's New Orleans and we see that finish out. If not, somewhere else and just be healthy and it's not turn into I'm gonna go extreme. Hopefully this does not turn into Odin Durant. Where it made all the sense in the world at the draft, and then because of injuries, we just never saw how brilliant he could have been, while the other guy becomes transcendent and all-time great.
Well, I will say this. Think about the Joel Embiid you see now and remember that it took him 2 years to get on the floor and that he only played 31 games in his third year and then he's still ascending and everything else. So let's not finish the book on Zion just yet.
That's right.
That's a great way to close the book on another. I don't even know what you call this segment. You never know what you're gonna get when we get Vinny Goodwill together with us.
It's Goodwill Friday. Feel good.
Different directions.
I'll tell y'all about the Nair and the shampoo in the group chat.
Yeah. We already know to watch you with hot mics. We learned that earlier before we came on the show.
And in that same group
watch
chat,
what Vinny gonna say.
in that same group chat, we'll talk about not making eye contact.
No, hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Yo, come on, what the hell? That completely undermines the purpose of not this dude, man. Can't take him nowhere.
No home training. No home training.
I don't know what you're talking about. What you talking about? Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.